Hey, Stephanie, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you, Tommy?
I'm good, thank you. We have a special guest tonight.
We do. We have Dr. Trost on with
That's
us.
right.
Howdy,
That's
folks.
right.
Good
Yeah,
evening.
we're gonna discuss with him some of the AI stuff he's been doing on the internet and stuff, and I think it's gonna be pretty good.
I know. So I think first questions first. For anyone who doesn't know what AI means, Jason, you wanna tell us?
Okay, AI is a new generation of computing that has a capacity to learn and adjust itself, um, and it can be tweaked and adjusted um, with prompts, which the prompts and depending on the AI tool or generator that you use. Um, it can be the prompts can be either very simple or they can be very complex. For instance, if you're doing chat gpt and you're looking for like text or an essay, you can say, chat gpt, write me an essay about the discovery of Bigfoot or the evidence of Bigfoot, and it'll give you a rundown. It actually goes through the internet, the data that it has available to you, and it writes it for you. And then when you look at it, you can say, you know what, I like that, but I would like you to give me a little bit more detail focusing on the Northwest. And it'll regenerate its answer for you. Or you can tell it, I'd like it to be a little less wordy,
Yeah,
and it'll regenerate for you.
that's
And that's really, really cool. Now, you can also do it with imagery, which is what I've been messing with quite a bit, where you can almost like going to what's it called when somebody does witness portraits or something. Uh,
Yeah,
cool.
you can go to these AI generators. The one that I use is called nightcafe.com,
Mhm.
and you can say, show me a Bigfoot in the woods, and you can then give it all kinds of different prompts. You can say, give it coarse matted hair,
Okay.
a domed head and a furrowed brow, and it'll give you those. And you can say, and you can pick different styles. You can, like, for one, a very popular style is like steampunk, and it'll give you kind of this odd looking image of Bigfoot. And it's really cool, and it's not quite like you're asking a supercomputer for the truth about Bigfoot.
Mhm.
It doesn't know any more than what we know, basically, because it basically has access to the same data that we do. Basically, it goes on to Google, and it does that. And the same with the imagery. Um, for instance, Bigfoot and Dogman, especially Dogman, it's a kind of a it doesn't know what to do with it, especially. And so if you tell it to give you a portrait of Dogman, it gives you some really weird stuff because it kind of doesn't understand what you're looking for. And there's really not a lot of data out there that's taught it about Dogman. And it makes for some really interesting artwork.
Mhm.
And what a lot of people are doing with this AI generated artwork aren't like, let's figure out what Bigfoot really looks like. They're more like, let's make these caricatures of Bigfoot and then have people compare those to their own experiences. And maybe they'll say, that looks a lot like my Bigfoot, except mine had a more domed head, or mine had much darker skin, or something like that. And it'll adjust for you. And it's kind of a cool thing. And it gives us, just normal lay people with very minimal artistic talent, as long as you use some precise language, you can create some pretty cool artwork.
That's cool.
And it's really kind of cool. And I'd like to show you an example of some stuff that I've created.
Okay.
And the thing about these is a lot of times there's a sense of absurdity to the stuff. Like sometimes you'll get extra limbs, or you'll get two heads, maybe a head in a weird place. Um, or sometimes maybe Bigfoot's wearing clothes or something. It has a definite weird sense of absurdity, especially when you try to take it outside its comfort zone. So I'll show you some of my creations real quick.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Oh, that's cool. Dog man. It looks yeah, that's cool. Oh, a big
Bigfoot wearing
upper
pants.
body and small legs. Yeah, that's cool. So you did all these.
Yes, these are mine that I've done. Bigfoot on the phone.
Love it. Love it.
And you see, like, I don't know why it gave me Bigfoot with a pair of pants. I was actually trying to do a caricature of Grassman. And so for some reason I was saying tall and lanky, with long hair and stuff. And one of the images, there's Bigfoot wearing pants. Almost look like do these pants make me look fat? And it's really weird. The Dogman ones were really kind of creepy and fun and cool, and there's like a macabre sense to it.
Mhm.
And this platform is that I use, that Night Cafe. It's really easy to use. You don't have to download software. You go in and you can do it anonymously. I made an account, but you can go on there, and it's pretty dang easy to use, and you can start doing some manipulations with it, and free to use even. And then you can get deeper into it and get some credits by voting on other people's stuff, and it's almost kind of set up like a social media thing, and it's kind of fun. I've spent quite a bit of time on it over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And now there's a woman that named Linda Wood. She goes by Linda L. Wood,
Mhm.
and she is in quite a few of the Bigfoot groups, and she'll put out a big batch of these, like 15 or 16 of them, and she'll say, do any of these look like your Bigfoot? And people will do all kinds of comments, and they'll be like, oh my, that's a lot like mine, except mine might have had this or that. And it's made for some very intriguing conversations that would be very hard for like me and you to normally mimic. Like, well, did it look like this or that? And you're like, well, kinda. But with this, you can spend a little time and come up with a caricature. And it's pretty dang fun. Now this Linda Wood, she has put quite a bit of time into it. I've just dabbled the last few weeks, and I've had a good time, but she's really done some interesting work, and I'm going to show you one of her things right here. This is an example of her work.
Yeah, that's cool.
Uh-huh.
That is really cool. Oh, that one almost looks like Neanderthal man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, these really look more to me like what I envisioned Neanderthal. Maybe not that one.
Yeah.
But yeah. And that one looks kind of scary. Yeah.
That's what a lot of people think anyways, is that Bigfoot is a Neanderthal.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
you don't know.
And you can kind of manipulate that, and you could say, make my Bigfoot kind of Neanderthalish, and it'll give you all kinds of options. And sometimes it'll give you like 9 or 10 of them at once. You can make it so that, and you can get all these choices. And some of them are weird. Some of them have all kinds of body parts and stuff, and and it's really interesting. And kind of like a lot of things, you can tweak the prompt button so that it gets very unpredictable, which means you can get some really crazy results, but you can get some really cool results. And what you end up doing is you end up going through a series of them, and it'll create one, and then you'll adjust it, and you'll kind of take a look at how those things go. And I'm going to show you this next one is two series that Linda Wood did, and you'll see the progression and the differences in these Bigfoots here. And so here we go with another one.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's cool.
So here we have Bigfoot sitting in the woods,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of different, portraits of it.
Yeah.
And then this is a series, coming up a creek, kind of like the legend of Boggy Creek. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Very similar to that.
Yeah. That is cool. That would be a good tool for those of us who go out and talk to eyewitnesses to be able. It's like a sketching tool, but you don't really have to be a good artist to do it.
Yeah, you don't have to be
but you don't have to be able to draw. Like, oh come on, I can barely draw a stick figure.
Yeah, me too. If I do any kind of art, it looks like the scribbling of an elementary kid.
Right.
As a matter of fact, most elementary kids are probably more artistic than I am.
Yeah.
And it, as long as you can figure out the prompts, and sometimes you can give it the same prompt like 10 different times, and it'll come up with 10 different answers.
Right.
It's kind of similar to like the quantum stuff in that there's like kind of limitless possibilities, and including the sense of the absurdity there, and it's really cool, and a lot of people are kind of scared by AI, and it does have some scary portents. But we've been using AI quietly for a long time. YouTube and Facebook are totally AI. YouTube was going to suggest and learn from your watching habits what you want to watch, and it's going to give you suggestions that are tailored exactly to what you want to watch, because it's learning, and it's learning each of our individual habits.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary sometimes. And sometimes you're kind of like, YouTube, what do you think of me? Yeah. And then Facebook, you can have your phone in your pocket and mention a product, and you're going to get suggested.
Yes.
You're going to get advertisements for that. That's AI. That's learning, and paying attention to you and using your prompts. Now, it's not doing it at your direction, per se, but it kind of is in the way that you use your likes and your dislikes and your reactions and stuff. When you give a post a heart reaction, it gets more weighted, so that you're going to see more videos from that content producer. So Facebook and YouTube have been learning for a long time. And so, for me, it's there are some scary implications of turning things over to AI, but we've been doing it a long time, and we've kind of already started down this path. Even with like our car seats that adjust to exactly, you get into some people's cars to go change their tires, and as soon as you hit the switch, it goes into like exact position for how they drive.
Yep.
And if you're a big guy and you're driving a little girl's car, you get shoved right up to the seat, because it's learning what the driver wants. And that's really what the AI is doing. And another thing is, like, it might change the job market a bit, in that for a lot of things, especially with the text stuff, you don't have to use agencies and stuff anymore. You can, feed in and get text and stuff. And the same with even like voice. You can do voice stuff, which is really cool. And it's really fun. Now, one of the interesting things about like Chat GPT, which is what I've used the most, is it's not accurate all the time. And so, like, you can't use Chat GPT as like the winning of your argument. Well, Chat GPT says Bigfoot has a domed head. because it's not always accurate. And I found this out. I was doing some videos. I was doing a video about Ringo Starr, and I asked GPT to write me some text about Ringo Starr and include a quote. And it included this quote, and I'm looking at it, and I was thinking, I don't think that's Ringo Starr. So I cut and pasted it, and I searched it, and it was Lucy from Charlie Brown.
Oh. Wow.
So not even a Beatle. It was
Lucy.
Completely out of left field. So you can't use AI as like, well, AI says
Yes.
Bigfoot doesn't exist, or Bigfoot does exist, because it doesn't have access to anything that we really don't. And it's kind of has a tendency for a little inaccuracies, and the quote that it gave me for Ringo Starr fit perfectly within the what I was writing, but it was also perfectly inaccurate.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's one of the interesting quirks about it, is you've got to fact check it. It's not always going to be correct. It makes mistakes, and I don't know if it's making mistakes, or if it's because the data that it's reading gives it that. Maybe there was something somewhere that misattributed that quote, and so it picked it up. But I've found that actually more than once. I've found it actually several times now that anytime, especially that it gives me a quote, I double check it and I try to find that person saying that, because or I ditch it, because it's kind of inaccurate sometimes, which is kind of funny, because like it's almost kind of put out there like it's foolproof, but it's not at all. It's kind of like Wikipedia, in that it's a good resource, but it has its own biases and inaccuracies that you have to account for, or to account for the possibility of. But it's awfully fun. And again, obscure abstract ideas are hard for it to figure out. Like, I'm going to show you some more of the Dogman stuff, because this is really fun looking. I really like the Dogman stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, and you see, like, it has a tough time with that concept, with that Dogman concept, and then it makes you also think, like, how do I describe a Dogman? And where I started having more luck with when I tried describing Dogman to it, it gave me really weird stuff that looked like they were off of heavy metal album covers and stuff, like dark and distorted and weird. Now, when I started putting in prompts for werewolves, I started getting more of what we saw there. A lot of those were werewolves, according to the AI, and that's kind of interesting. You know what I mean? Kind of.
Did you check any of the Dogman that had like red flannel on by chance?
That had what?
Red flannel on?
I never did, and it never gave me that suggestion. But that would be a good one to put in. Yes, the red flannel. Yeah. Although it did give me a lot of clothed ones. It liked to put hoodies on them and stuff. And you got a weird dog face poking out of a hoodie with red eyes, and really very fun.
Yeah.
Now, most of the stuff that I've been messing with has been like artistic. It's not hyper realistic, almost, but not hyper realistic to where you could call it like hoaxable.
Picture or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Now there are some stuff out there and some software that you can like manipulate photos. And there's been a couple of interesting like Photoshop type things. And I've seen stuff of like people producing like giants into pictures. And I haven't really messed with the photo stuff as much because I've been mostly just, it seems like that's like a next level. And it also kind of gets into the odd hoaxing and stuff. Now there has been there was a series of really fantastic photos that came out about a month ago, and a lot of the Facebook groups purporting to show some really up close and personal Bigfoot stuff, including Bigfoot operating machinery.
Oh.
Yeah, and that little detail right there kind of raised a little my eyebrow. Is like, that sounds like AI stuff. That weird little bit of absurdity. And so I really kind of took a look at these, and I've gotten to see them a few times because they're in quite a few of the Facebook groups, and put forth by a couple of people that I have a lot of respect for. But one of the other red flags about it is it's never them that has the pictures. They've been given to them by a friend that they trust a lot. And a lot of times we've gotten stuff from that same thing where, that does happen. People do give you stuff and they don't want to be known. Yeah. But it also kind of raises a red flag in that a lot of the hoaxes that have been out there, that's how they've come. I didn't take this, and it's kind of like plausible deniability.
Yeah, exactly.
That being said, I'm going to show you these, and they're pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. And it kind of shows that next level that's possible with the AI. And if it doesn't show it, it's a good example of what you could do. So without further ado.
Okay.
Very striking.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good.
Now it's getting real.
But, again, it's kind of like, really?
Right.
And in the car, that's the one.
In the car. Yeah.
Or in the
tractor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is.
Yeah.
And a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's some very striking imagery. And I think that if you didn't have the machinery and you just had those ones without the machinery, you might be like, maybe, but you throw in that machinery and it gets awfully crazy. Now, me and Tommy aren't afraid to go down rabbit holes and be, accept people at face value. We have no fear of that at all. So, kind of for me, it kind of almost feels hypocritical to be like, oh, well, that's Bigfoot driving a car. We all know Bigfoot can't drive a car.
Right.
Maybe he can, quantumly, but, even I have to have a sense.
I do have a report of a Bigfoot on top of a bulldozer. So there's that.
What?
Was he on top of it?
He was on the tracks of the bulldozer.
Oh,
yeah, I do believe it. I mean, I absolutely believe it. Yeah.
So if they say, if you go from on the tracks to on the seat, you're like, Bigfoot can't drive a car.
How do we know? You guys,
how do you know Bigfoot can't drive? Bigfoot's like, what you mean?
But I'm just saying, every time we're out in the field, we come back with more questions than answers, right?
And it's like, what? Yes.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, we've got to say, like, who would ever think that he could mind speak? I mean,
Right.
it's way easier to drive a car than it is to mind speak.
That's a good point, you know? Yes. Yeah. Or, oh, he infrasounds you, but he can't drive a car.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Never. Here's what I'm saying. Never say never.
That's right. That's right. Never is an awful long.
Yes. Yeah. So that is Bigfoot AI right there in a nutshell. Never say never.
I love it. And I think, Tommy, you need to learn how to use this program. Have Jason teach you so that when you're talking to an eyewitness, you can just go in there and put in all the features that this witness is telling you and see what it comes up with, and then say, "Is this what you saw?" And then you can tweak it so that it looks exactly like what they saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
This could
Um.
really change. This could really change things, man.
Mhm.
I
It
think
really can. It can change. It can make the conversations. It can give a lot more fuel to the conversations.
You know, it's just like the one night there was the guy, the big guy that was in the office, and I was talking to him about this and that when he saw Bigfoot and this and that, and he's just like kind of just blabbing to me and blah blah blah. And I was like, "Did he look like this?" And I pulled it up on YouTube, and he was like, "Oh yeah!" I mean, like he was emphatic that was what he saw.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that could be like AI comes with the people that come in now. You know, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, it could be really useful for that. And for people to like, even like some people like get a, you know, maybe you have an encounter and you need to you need to do something with it. That AI tool could be fantastic.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you know, you can sit there and you can mess with it for a half hour and then put it away and then do it again the next night.
And see what it looks
And
like.
it's really
Yeah.
easy to use. And it doesn't have any scary interfaces or anything like that. And
Not yet.
it's a rather
yet.
cool development, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, and I remember when we were young and the internet first started, you know, they claimed that was going to be the end of the post office.
Oh yeah.
You
No,
know, and now I think the post office is stronger than ever, partially because of the internet and shopping on internet.
get a nice letter in the mail that's handwritten or a card or something, because nobody does that anymore. It's kind of a lost thing, you know. And so when you get one,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is so cool, you know. So
Mhm.
I actually took the time to write this, you know, and put
Very
it in the box.
quaint.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
quaint.
You know,
Yeah.
and so it's like I think I think it's going to change things. And I think it's going to make some things easier and maybe make some other things harder for some people. But I think it's a good tool that's kind of proving pretty interesting. And it's pretty amazing what we're the technologies that we are getting access to.
You know, you were saying Dogman is difficult to do, but do you remember, Tommy, when we had Chris Riggins on the show and she had seen
Yes.
Dogman and she described him to the smallest fact? It would be fun for you to go back, Jason, and listen to that interview and write
That would be very easy to do. Actually, that's a great idea because I can take her description.
Yes, because
that would be awesome.
Describing it because she remembered it, and it was like 15 years ago, and she remembered it like it was yesterday. And she talked about the muscles, even in like the paws or the hand and the legs, and how powerful it was, and what it looked like in the face. It was an amazing description.
Yeah, she did give some very good description, and that's exactly what you're looking for the AI stuff is good solid descriptions like that. I will go back and look at that and maybe we can do a little feature on that or include it sometime because you're very right. She gave a very good detailed.
And like that one, I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, but I remember talking to a guy up in northern Minnesota once, and he had seen strange things like Dogman, Bigfoot, the whole 9 yards. But when he was very young, he also told me that he and his friends were out in the woods one night and they saw something up in the tree. It was about the size of like a great horned owl, for example. Was not an owl. They kind of thought maybe that's what it was. But when it turned its head, it had a human face. It had a human face. And that they all got scared, and one of his friends had a gun or something, and he shot it. And the next day they went back to see what it was. They were scared, so they ran. And the next day they went back to see what it was, and there was nothing there, nothing to indicate there was something ever there. But I have heard that description of that creature before, and it was fun to see what AI would come up with that. Like
that would be,
but a face of a human.
Is there a name?
That's super scary, right? So I know when I'm out in the woods, I'm always looking because I'm like, what would you do if you saw something like that at night?
Is there a name for that cryptid?
No.
Is there a name?
I heard it, like I said, from a guy up north who was, I think he was Ojibwa. So he's spent a lot of time out in the woods, and he was very intuitive and sensitive as well. Because that was one of the questions I asked him. I said, "Are you intuitive and sensitive?" And he said, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, okay, well, my hypothesis is all these creatures are interdimensional, as we've talked about before. So whatever it was they thought they shot, pooped into another dimension. But that isn't, and I've looked through different things, and I have found other descriptions of that. Not very many, like maybe one more. But I wish I could find that guy and talk to him more about it, because that just kind of sent shivers right? He talked about the dog man too. He talked about how he was driving on this road up north where we go occasionally to see if we can find dog man. And this creature kept right up with him, and he described it a lot like Chris, but not as descriptive, right? But kind of the same. But Chris's description of dog man was wow.
Yes.
I'll take that and do something with it. But as far as this other winged creature with the human face, I would love to see what it would come up with that.
Maybe he would be reminiscent of the dog or the Mothman.
Yeah, the Mothman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it was small, but it was like the size of a raptor, right? So it wasn't like big. Yeah. And it was feathered, so
that's crazy.
It's creepy. It's creepy. If I saw something like that, I think I would be really creeped out and scared, and I would probably run. There's not a lot of things that scare me, you guys, but I think that would do the trick.
We had a friend that recently came to us to tell us about his sighting that's kind of similar to that. He was driving down the road, and he looked over, and there was a dead tree, and it had some buzzards in it, and then it also had this one like super huge buzzard that was like 3 times the size of the others, and it had weird square shoulders and a frontward like almost human type face with front facing eyes, not like on a vulture, but like front facing, kind of like Mothman type thing. And he got like a good 30-40 second look at it, and he slowed down as he was driving. And then when he came and turned around, they were all gone, and he came around. But it was that same kind of thing, but it was like a bird type thing, not huge, like not quite as big as us, but bigger than a regular buzzard, which we have a lot of here. And he said the shoulders were very like square, like a person's, and like a human. He didn't say it was a human face. He said it was like human-like or reminiscent, because it still had a bill, but it had these odd eyes. And so I actually did try to go into the night cafe and try. Yeah. That was one of my motivations. I couldn't come up with anything that was it. It had a real tough time with that. Yeah, going into any of the Mothman stuff like that, it was kind of interesting, and nowhere near anything that looked like, it got kind of macabre.
There are a lot of strange things out there. Certainly, if you can get an eyewitness that has such a good description like Chris with that dog man, it is gold. Make sure you record it, because then, you know, it would be fun to see what that program can come up with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's kind of fun to do, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to look at Chris's description and see if I can't feed that in and go from there.
Because you know what? Then we can send it to Chris and say, hey, Chris, is this kind of what you saw?
Do any of these?
Yeah. I think it would be super fun. We could even have her on here and say, you know, after we've talked to her a bit, you know, and say, Chris, is this what it looked like? You know? So, yeah, it'd be cool for sure. So, well, awesome. Well, thanks, Dr. Trost, for telling us all about the AI. I think it's fascinating.
Thank you very much. Thanks for listening. You know, I've been enjoying this. I've been talking Tommy's ear off about this stuff, and you know, it's been kind of fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm interested to see what you're going to come up with now with Dogman and maybe that winged creature with the face, the human face.
Yeah. Because I'm going to try a couple of different. I've been talking to like that Linda Wood, and she was telling me about, you know, she's been doing it for a little bit now, and really putting a lot of effort into it. And I kind of feel like I'm just kind of scratching the surface, but it's a fun story to take part in too. Well, it's kind of like when we were mining Bitcoin. You know, we didn't really make a fortune off it, but we got to say we were mining Bitcoin at a tire shop in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just everything. Here's the thing: everything takes so much time, and time is so short. You know, so. But yeah, what a good tool if you could learn it and you could learn how to use it fast and take it with you when you talk to eyewitnesses. I think that would be awesome. You know,
time is the one thing that you can't never get back.
No, never.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, goodness. So, thank you. This was fun. Great job. Yay.
Awesome.
Good job, Dr. Trost.
Yeah. So we'll have part 2 of this at some point.
Yes.
More artwork. Yes.
Most definitely.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Have a fabulous evening.
All right.
We'll talk soon.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Hey, guys.
Good time.